Actually, man, it's sort of an interesting story.
Welcome everybody, welcome. Just, that was sort of my version of tinkling a glass at a wedding, you know, just tinkling the banjo strings to say that we're about to begin here. And I want to thank Cy and Adam Silver profusely for making this space available to me and to us tonight.
Before you start, I'd just like to say thank you all for coming to our brand new space. We just completed this. This used to be 2 garages and a mud room, and this is all that's left of the partition. The bathroom is right there through the door on your right, with the picture of the toilet and the roses. The door closes but does not lock, but I will be around to make sure only one person is in. And this is Cy, your host.
Thanks for coming.
All the crackers, and in fact, everything on the table is gluten-free.
Okay, and before Adam, I'm not sure if you're going to duck in or duck out, but I want to make a shameless brag for Cy and Adam and their dim sum. I guess you call it your dim sum tea house. Is that what you call it?
Private dining by appointment.
Right. Which son Ian and Bonnie and I did a couple weeks ago, and I knew that I was going to be blown away, and I was still blown away by being blown away. It's just fabulous food, and they take such good care of us and everything, and so you make an appointment with them, and it can be a party of a certain number, or it can be just 2 or 3, 2 and up. 2 and up, yeah.
And also, we have we can do other events and programs in here. And of course, there's 2 galleries, and we have the backyard also, which is going to seed itself soon.
And then also, they are at the farmers market every Saturday. So many of you probably know that and have eaten their food there. Yeah.
And almost any evening work.
Start your program.
Okay, so also Reggie Martel, a dear old friend, is here filming tonight so that I can watch this, because this is kind of rolling out some new material, and I've got a bug under me to try to get this out, and I'm working on a book on a number of different subjects and stuff. I'm way behind Peter Amidon, who's published stuff all over the world. But I'm very honored to be able to share this stuff with you and be with you tonight. When I was in middle school, a friend of mine put on the Weavers Carnegie Hall concert, and I was blown away. I was just like, I've got to have a banjo! But we couldn't afford a banjo, so I said, I'm going to make a banjo. And this is the banjo I made. It took me about 1.5 years, and 2 old timers. One's name was Snip LaFountain, and he, Snip, and the other fellow's name was Sterling Klink. So with names like that, how could I, and Snip LaFountain taught me how to use the tools and helped me choose the wood, and Sterling Klink was a banjo player, so he made the fretboard for me and put in, because I didn't know where the frets ought to go. And then we got together, and I had a bet with Mr. Minnick from the Thayer School, who said, you will never do it, but if you do, I'll buy you a brown cow sundae at Lou's on Main Street in Hanover, New Hampshire. But to prove that you've done it, you have to get in a canoe, you have to go under the Ledyard Bridge and cut loose on the banjo, and we'll be on the shore. And that's exactly what I did. Deep blue sea, baby, deep blue sea. Deep blue sea, baby, deep blue sea. part. Deep blue sea, baby, deep blue sea. It was Willie, what got drowned in the deep blue. There was his practice, sing it out, gotta do harmony, go for it. Deep blue sea, baby, blue sea. Deep blue sea, baby, blue sea. Deep blue sea, baby, blue sea. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. Dig his hole, dig his grave, dig his grave with a silver spade. Dig his grave with a silver spade. Dig his grave with a silver spade. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. Lower him down with a golden chain. Lower him down with a golden chain. Lower him down with a golden chain. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. Blue sea, deep 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 blue sea, baby, blue sea. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. Golden sun, bring him back to me. Golden sun, bring him back to me. Golden sun, bring him back to me. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. That's right. Deep blue sea, deep blue sea, deep blue sea, baby, deep blue sea, deep blue sea, baby, deep blue sea. It was Willie what got drowned in the deep blue sea. I put this banjo aside. Actually, I gave it to Ian right after college and after his college, and I hadn't taken it out for months and months. And months and months. I mean, years. And then finally I just said, I'm going to do this. So about 2 weeks ago, I just pulled it out and said, I can't remember the chords. But fortunately, down on the bottom of my bookshelf was Pete Seeger's How to Play the Banjo, the 5-string banjo book. And I got enough out of that to just start. And then Mary Alice Amadon has promised to give me a little bit of a lesson, and as well has Andy Davis. And you know, this, you can find anything in this town. Anything. Now I want to be upfront with you right off the bat to say something about clown and clowning. Clowning is misunderstood. Clown and clowning is not about the nose. It's not about the orange wig, and it's not about the shoes. Clowning is a way of life. It's a way of looking at life. It's a way of experiencing life. I call it a way of living in the interesting zone. And in the interesting zone, whatever happens to you is interesting. If you get it, interesting. If you don't get it, interesting. You succeed. Don't go wild, it's just interesting. You fail miserably. You go, that's interesting, you know. I've had people turn me down for $1 million. And I went, interesting, right? Because I know that sooner or later what goes around comes around. And if you're patient, you're going to find out why you didn't get this. Or you're going to find out what you're going to do paying it forward if you did get this, right? If a door closes, a window opens. You never get completely boxed in, right? I've trained myself over the years to say, this is good. Whatever happens, great. This is good, right? I suppose I haven't been tested so far as to say that the theater burns down. Oh, that's good. But I'm going to tell you in a little while, as part of the story, how the Wilder building caught fire on Main Street and almost burned the New England New Theater in the Chinese restaurant completely down. That'll be part of my story tonight. But I've trained myself always to say, this is good. And so I'll digress quickly into the door closes, a window opens, by going into a very short, which is a long, protracted story that I wrote about meeting Pete Seeger and peasant of El Salvador, and I'm not doing that story tonight. But this is a wee snip that illustrates that when a door closes, a window opens. We were performing in Newark, New Jersey. It was the last night of a 10-city tour. We were absolutely exhausted. We came in, said hi to the nuns in the nunnery, lay down on the floor, and went to sleep. They panicked, called Bonnie. She said, don't worry, they'll wake up. Just wave the check in their nose, they'll wake up. I had placed costumes all over the place. At the very end of the show, I'm playing Archbishop Romero in the robe, the cross, the cap, the glasses, the whole thing. And then I exit, and in most cases, I go down through the basement to get out front, where I have my military outfit, my glasses, my helmet, my boots, my gun, so I can run in and shoot Peter dead, yelling, "Communist!" Right? But in this case, there was no way in this cathedral to get around. So I said, well, that's not a problem. I put all my costumes, laid them out in the Mother Superior's office. Great. I said my Deus de Bendiga and everything else, and I exited the back of the church, went across the alleyway, and door was locked. Out to the front, the street, the front door. Went out to the front, it was locked. I went around, to the nunnery, there was no other door. And I went, now I had 9 minutes, because Peter's night walk is timed to a tape that's exactly 9 minutes when he yells, "El pueblo unido será vencido," and I have to run in and go, "Communist," bang, and shoot him dead. I'd already wasted 1 minute, so I have 8 minutes to go, and I'm like, what can I do? I considered running in Romero's outfit and saying, "Bang, you're dead," with my finger, but I decided that wouldn't play very well. So I ran around to the street. Apparently, because Newark, New Jersey is a high crime area, they had locked everything down, and all the nuns were in watching the show. So I wasn't sure what to do. And I thought, a window, there's got to be and I looked on the second story. There was, sure enough, of all the windows, there was a window that was open with a screen in front of it. And I looked down, and what do you know? There was a rose bush that went right up a cellist and right up a drain pipe. And in my Romero outfit, I felt like da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da, Superman, at least just Super Archbishop. And I climbed up and up to the top, and I got to the screen, and I smashed it in like that. I didn't care. I'd pay for it later. I dive rolled in, and I stood up, and I looked there, and a nun sat up in bed, screamed. Just screamed bloody murder. She's like, ah, and I said, no, don't worry, I won't rape you, I'm Archbishop Romero. And I ran out the door, and I jumped down, I vaulted the stairs, taking off my stuff, threw it in the corner. And then I pulled on the pants, got the boots unlaced, top put on the mirror, and was buckling as I was running down the alley as fast as I could go, buckling on the gun. And I got to the front just as Peter said, "We want them back. We want our children back. El pueblo unido." And I didn't even have time to smash the board, which makes the sound on the stone floor like a bomb. And I just ran right down and went. And we used to be able to tell how successful the show had been by how many inches you could see under the fannies of the people. Because in some cases, I was right next to them. And this was a big 30-30, boom, like that. Oh, people went like that. Anyway, that's an example of when a door closes, a window is open, and maybe also leap and the net will appear. But my real story for the first half of tonight has to do with the New England Youth Theater. Peter and I had done thousands of shows, and then one day he came to me, and it was 1998, and it was November, right around Thanksgiving, and he said, I'm not going to tour with you anymore. And I said, that's good. No, seriously, I just mean I have to say, why? And he said, because I'm going to Brandeis University, I'm going to get a doctorate degree. We're going to work on a doctorate. And I said, how long? And he said, maybe probably 2-3 years. I was like, oops, that's a door closed. I got to create a solo show real fast or we're going to starve. But I thought, gosh, a window must open. What's the window? This is good. And I thought, I've waited 25 years to start a youth theater. Way back when we were at Camp Bard in the commune, I wanted to have it there. Nobody wanted it, so I asked Peter to be my clown partner, and we toured all over the place. And now he says, sayonara. And I said, okay, I guess now's the time, now or never. Leap and the net will appear. I had no theater. I had no cast. I had no rehearsal space. I had no money. The only thing that I did have was a PhD in Shakespeare and a love of the bard, and I knew A Midsummer Night's Dream inside out. And I knew that young people really enjoyed it. They loved being in it, right? I also figured that people in town would know Shakespeare. They would have heard of the guy, right? So if I could do a play, small play, with Midsummer Night's Dream, maybe I could get a small audience. Bonnie and I bartered up at Hawk Inn Resort every year in the summer. I did a show for them, and then they gave us a weekend. We could use the whole place, jacuzzi and meals, and just wonderful. And I went one night into the big dining room, not the dining room, the big drawing room there with a raging fire, and I took out a journal I'd bought, and I wrote New England Youth Theater. An experiment in creating without fear. It will be of kids, by kids, for kids, run by kids, with the best professional mentorship possible. I shouldn't have said run by kids, because the kids have got the idea of running it now. and I'm still in all. And I thought, all right, I'm going to do that. So I went out to Patrick McMahon at Mailboxes, etc., doesn't exist anymore, and said, Patrick, can you reproduce this, please, this poster announcing auditions for A Midsummer Night's Dream? And he said, sure, and how many do you want? I said 40, he did 40. And I said, how much? He said, free. Just have fun. All right, great, thank you. Yeah. I produced all my scripts there for a long, long time. Hung up the posters, 35 kids showed up. I went to Mike Friel at that point. I'd worked with him way up in the West. He was up at Wyndham, the little tiny school when I did the Horizons Project and brought all these artists and Gengarelli and all these people into the schools. And now he was the principal at Oak Grove School. And I said, I need an audition place. He said, any place you want, take the music room. So he gave it to me. 35 kids showed up. If I didn't have Bonnie there taking notes, I didn't know who they were. I did games with them, but I didn't know a single name. And if Bonnie wasn't there saying, I think you should cast this way, and this person is bottom, and so on, I never could have done it. But I didn't have a place to rehearse. Enter Peter Denny. For many years, I'd worked at the West Village Meeting House with Peter Denny. I'd done The Clown of God with him. I'd done Child's Christmas in Wales with him. We'd even toured some of it. Now he was the minister at the Center Congregational Church. So I went to Peter and I said, you owe me. He said, fine, take over the whole basement. You can use it as much as you want. But go see Carol and make sure that you write down exactly when you're going to be there. I said, great, all right. So I cast the thing and we started rehearsing. There were snowstorms, there were ice storms, there was school closings. By the time we opened the show, which was March 12th, 1999, the cast had not run through the entire show in total even once. Not even the first act all the way through even once. Because it was something different all the time. But I was getting so much help. I cast Ben Stockman as Oberon, and immediately his father, Jerry Stockman, comes up and says, "Can I help you?" And I said, what do you do? He said, "Well, I'm the lighting director at the UMass Fine Arts Center." I said, "Boy, can you help me?" But I needed a place to perform. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I've performed myself at the Landmark Theater, which is called the Greeno Theater, and I've been there a number of times, and I was aware that they weren't really using it, so I went all the way to the top. I went to the president of the college, and I said, "I got a deal for you that you can't refuse. I'll give you a spring show at your parents' weekend if you give me that theater for 2 weeks." He said, "Let me think about it, done." So just like that, I got it for 2 weeks. Now I had a place to perform, right? And I had a place to rehearse. So I started rehearsing like gangbusters. And meanwhile, Jerry is training Justin Morris how to use the lights. So some of the time they're up there and he's showing him, and these are the old-fashioned lights, some of them that go like this and everything else like that. I am utilizing my time. So I have got in the basement of the Central Congregational Church, over here, Alki Stereopoulos on piano, and I've asked Barbie Schulich, who is Rosie Schulich's mother, and Rosie Schulich is playing Titania, and I knew that Rosie's brother was a tremendous classical guitarist, Jeremy. And I said, "Do you suppose Jeremy could play guitar with Alki?" And she said, "Probably, I'll ask him." He got right back to me and he said, "Not only will I play rock guitar, but my friend here, we got a little band, he'll play bass guitar, and my drummer will also play." Immediately I had a combo. I said, "Can you play Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix show?" Immediately, they're down at this end of the room working Purple Haze. At the other end of the room, on a tiny, tiny little stage, which is about as big as this corner, Susan and Walter Slowinski are there with a bunch of kids making props and costumes. On this wall here is a long lunchroom table, and there's Barbie Schulich with 2 kids writing press releases. Out on the floor, which is now completely empty because all of the 8 or 9 foot long lunchroom tables have been struck and leaned up against the walls, and the 64 chairs are all leaning at the far end of the room. So that Shannon McGough, Alki's gal, is teaching them all the moves for the dance stuff. And like that. And I'm running around from, this and that. Okay, that looks good. No, we'll try. And I'm running around just being the honeybee. And 2 women walk in down the stairs and they walk right into the end of the room. 2 women, and they both had white hair as white and gorgeous and delicious as your white hair. And they both looked like, in fact, they were, probably in their early 80s. They walked in and they looked like this. And they were each holding a hot dish. I could smell as I came up to them, but one was a tuna casserole hot dish. And the other one, as I could sort of peek, was one of those marshmallow jello dishes, And I said, "How can I help you?" And they said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "We're rehearsing Midsummer Night's Dream." They said, No, you can't be here. You've got to leave, you've got to go, you can't be here. And I said, "What do you mean we can't be here? I signed in with Carol. We have this." She said, No, she's forgotten. This is the women's auxiliary night every Thursday night. We have an insurance salesman coming in to talk with us about insurance. It's a potluck. Everybody's coming. We're just got to set up the kitchen. You got to go. We did leave. And I said, "Okay, easy. I said, this is good. Very good. It's going to be a nice test. Okay, I said, "Look, you agree to leave and come back in 10 minutes. You will come back in 10 minutes. The entire room will be reset with the 64 chairs, all the tables, and there will not be a sign that we were here. The kids will be just gone." She looked at me, the older one that was holding the jello. She said, "Can you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." The other woman next to her with a tuna said, he can do that. And so they said, okay, and they turned and they left. I don't know where they went for 10 minutes. I banged on the cymbal, banged on the drum, went, woohoo, woohoo. Everybody stopped. I said, we've been double booked. We cannot be here. You guys have 10 minutes when I say go to strike everything, close the curtains on that end, pick up your writing materials, strike the band into the far classroom. You've got to set up all 8 or 9 tables with the 64 chairs and be gone and be up in the center Congo parlor with your arms crossed, your legs crossed, and quiet as mice. When I come up there, I don't want to hear anything out of you, not a word. Go! They were gone. Set everything up, tables. They'd even remembered, 3 chairs on this side, 3 chairs on that side, they remembered it all. The 2 women walked back in and they looked like, and the one holding the Jell-O said, I didn't think you could do that. And the one holding the tuna casserole said, I knew he could do that. And the one holding the Jell-O said, how did you know? And this is an embarrassing moment for me, I apologize. But the one holding the Jell-O said, how did you know? And the one holding the tuna casserole looked at her and she said, because when he said that, I looked in his face and I saw the face of God. True story, that's exactly what she said. I looked in his eyes and I saw the face of God. I went, well, excuse me, not exactly. But have a good session with the insurance salesman. She said, after rehearsal, are you going to leave? And I said, well, I'm not sure. I sent them all up into the parlor. They said, well, if you're around, come back at such and such, and we'll give you the food is amazing. Come down. You'll have a complete dinner. I said, all right, I'll take you up on that. Went up. They were all there, quiet as mice, I swear. Feet crossed, arms crossed. And I said, there's always a window. In this case, it's another door. And it's the door to the sanctuary. We are going to go in. They said, but and I think Walter Slinsky said, no, wait a minute, Stevie, do you have, I said, it doesn't matter. I've done the clown of God. We're performing this for all these children and everything else. Besides, just last 3 months ago, last fall, I did Godspell with them. I took all the youth group. So we just went in. We used the altar. We used the aisle. We used the whole place, and we had a rehearsal. And then it got to be time to open. And I said, Jerry, we need a backdrop. And he said, I know exactly what we need. I will go down next to Bradley International Airport, and I will get some tobacco cloth, because I know where they store that stuff. We've used a little of it at UMass. And I said, great. So he shows up with it in his truck. There were 3 problems with it. The first was dust, and the second problem was dust. And then the third, the last problem was dust. Dust. We couldn't shake all the dust out. Well, the last ice storm had happened, and then there had been a melt. It was sort of a January or end of January, early February thaw. And now on the outside, on the big slope outside of the Landmark Theater, there was grass. It was all frozen solid, but I said, okay, roll the whole thing out there. So we got kids, and they rolled it out, coffee and everything like that. Got it all set, then we went and rehearsed. Of course, it snowed all over it. And melted and then froze, and it froze solid to the ground. We couldn't pull it out, but the snow got rid of the dust. So we were all set from that, but we couldn't get it up. And so I'm praying for a thaw. And then I had to help the kids explore the whole Greeno Theater. There's a big stage. There's a mezzanine up above, and there's an orchestra. Seats almost 300 people. But I said to the kids, look, your dressing room girls is here, and your dressing room boys is down there. But to get to them and to get across, if you want to get to the other side of the stage, you got to go down the stairs like that and run across to the other side. Well, Amanda, who was playing Peter Quince, was just this most energetic gal. She's one of the best. I don't know where she went. She should be on Broadway. She was, or just teaching at Goucher somewhere. I don't know. She was just amazing. So she got so good at going down and being record flat within about 1 minute and 30 seconds up the other side. So she could change as she was going. Next thing I know, the kids are yelling, down to the landing, quick, Amanda. And I ran down. Well, she'd vaulted the entire staircase, landed on the landing, and shattered her leg. She broke her leg in about 3 places. Well, so I said, okay, carry on, Jerry, you're in charge. And I bundled her and picked her up and took her to the emergency room. I swear, I'm not sure if I lied to you to say that was early in the afternoon before we really got going. But we went into the emergency room and they bandaged her. They put a cast on her leg and gave her crutches, and she made the end of the rehearsal that day. Just hobbling. And she went through all of the shows just hobbling like this. Came in, and crutches like this because she had to hand out all the roles to everybody like that. Didn't bother her at all. She didn't know she couldn't do that. So that was one of those little shockers, that kind of... So we're rehearsing. We're just about to open. The band is playing and everything like that. But we only had about 2 days in there, 3 days, when before we could just open the show. And the kids, they sort of knew their lines. They kind of knew their lines. And I said, well, I got to have a way to blow them out of the water if they forget their lines. What am I going to do? Because if they forget their lines, everybody's going to know it. It's not a secret. So I made a great big sign that said, Alki, the piano player, Alki, line, please. And then I held it up in front of the audience and they would yell, Alki, line, please. That just blew everybody out of the water. Everybody laughed like mad. The kid Alki would say, your line is this, And the kid would say, thank you very much, Alki, and just go right on. It just smoothed the waters. It was great. We're getting pretty close to opening and we're out there and I'm directing and all of a sudden the lights go out. And I say, Justin, turn the lights back on. Justin Morris is back there. Okay, lights go back on. All right, now lights go out. I said, Justin, one more time, I'm coming up there. And I'm locking the booth. Lights go out. I said, all right, I'm coming up there. He also wanted to juggle, so I had given him my 3 white silicone balls. They're $35 a ball. Of course, when he got locked out, he took the balls with him and he went outside and juggled with them and they all went into the creek. And I lost the balls. But I didn't have the heart to rank him out or anything like that. Well, I figured we might get 35, maybe 50 people, no more. Not a chance. But I figured whoever's going to be there, they've got to be alerted to the fact that these children, they haven't even gone through the show once, and there are going to be lots of mistakes and everything. So I will just let them know. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to do more than that. I am going to get the gal playing Philostrate to roll out a television set on a wheelie cart. And she's going to hold up some VHSs, and I'm going to say, audience, we rehearsed this once. I said, I'm going to say, audience, I beg your pardon, but we're not doing the show tonight. The kids, they can't do this show. I thought they could. They can't. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be the most boring travesty that you've ever seen. You do not want to experience this. It'll be horrible. So instead, though, since you're here, we have a television and we are going to show you a VHS. Your choice. Do you want to see Pulp Fiction, Hands? Do you want to see Gone with the Wind? Who wants to see Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop? So I had it all worked out with Philostrate, right? We get to opening night. 250 people showed up. It was I mean, the New England Youth Theater, who knew who we were? It was the place, the orchestra was completely packed. I was like, so I said, well, we're going to go out and do it anyway. I had a trick up my sleeve. We rolled it out in this and that, Pulp Fiction, Eddie Murphy, Bum. And some people are going, what? I'm in clown, I'm in full clown with my nose and everything like that. And all of a sudden, over there, you hear, bum, ding, bum, ding, bum, down, down, down. I go, wait a minute, wait a minute, down, down, down. Justin Morris starts going with the lights, and they're going like this, all over the place like that, really, And then 4 kids come running out, and they've got a great big shepherd's hook, and they came right up to me and put it around my neck, and they're dragging me off stage and going, no, you don't want to know. And bang! These kids, 35 of them, came on stage from left and right, and every one of them had a roll of toilet paper, and they grabbed the loose end and threw it as hard as they could, and the toilet paper went all over the room, and the audience screamed, yelled, and stood and gave them a standing ovation right then and there. They could do no wrong after that. There was no way they could fail. Line, please, Alki. I mean, I think there were people in the audience going, somebody miss a line. We want to yell that again, Well, there was one kid in the cast, and his name was Miles. And Miles was brand new to town. His mother was new to town, but she wanted to help. So she became the costume dresser and helped out down backstage and everything. Miles was a sweet kid, but he was so shy that he would not look me in the eye. And when he spoke to me, I had no idea what he said. You couldn't hear him. He was so shy. So I cast him as one of Oberon's henchmen. And I decided that the Oberon's henchmen were not just going to be any Oberon's henchmen. They were going to be all Marlon Brando from the Wild Ones. They were all going to be riding pantomime Harley Davidsons. They were going to be from Easy Rider. And I got them all leather jackets, and I got the mirror sunglasses, and oh, did Miles love that. And Miles especially loved running up to the highest platform 5 feet off the ground, jumping off and doing a tremendous, what do you call that, Ibby, when you go like this? A split-legged, what is it called? A split, yeah. Or something that they do on skis, they go like that, a daffy or something. Yeah, right. So he loved doing that, and you should have seen his face when he did it. It was just a state of joy. So it was great. So we opened that night. The audience gave the ovation, sat back down. They were laughing at everything. Shoshi Bass was hysterical. I mean, it was so great. What's his name? Teve. He was playing Lysander, and he walked on stage with her in the forest, right? And she did one of the Guildenstern staircases. She went, and then right on her face. He, of course, had rehearsed it, but he paid no attention. So she just went down like that. And he said, I think we're lost. And he looked, where? And then he looked, oh my gosh, she was down there. And he picked her up, and we had all these gags, and the audience was totally with us. And then in comes Puck, Harry Poster, and he tells the fairies, you got to get out of here. Oberon is wrath, he's really mad, he's sore. And Rosie Schulich says to Harry Poster something like, yeah, you and your army, or whatever. And in comes Ben Stockman. Yeah. How now, Titania? What makest thou here in this, this wood? And she lit into him. Shakespeare's giving her some words where she accuses him of getting rid of the winter, making the summer into winter, making all the crops fail and all these things. Miles, when he saw Rosie Schulich ranking out his boss, he lost it. He totally went crazy. and he pushed Ben Stockman out of the way. He had no lines whatsoever, jumped in front of Rosie Schulich and started, he wasn't talking in iambic pentameter, but he just made up words. He said, "How dare you say that to him? He is the king. You don't yet." And Ben just was like, and Rosie was, and I was off stage going, and everybody in the audience was going, the audience, I think, thought, "This is brilliant, this is amazing." And I did think it was amazing. I mean, I'd never seen a kid so unleashed. He was unleashed. It was amazing. Finally, Ben Stockman came to his senses, grabbed Miles by the shoulder, put him back, good boy, and did the scene, and they left. Miles exited stage right. He went down the stairs to get into his next costume. He walked straight into his mother, who had been stage right, watching this happen, and had beat him downstairs outside the dressing room door. There were kids all coming down to change. The kids all saw this. She grabbed Miles and she put him up against the wall and she slapped him across the face hard 3 times. I didn't see it. I was stage left up on the theater. Bam, bam, bam. And he burst into tears and he ran down the tunnel. And I think Rosie Schulich ran down, and then Lily Merriam ran after him too. He went right out of the theater. It was winter. I mean, it was March, and it was cold. There was snow everywhere. He ran right out, and it was pitch dark, and he ran into the forest. And Lily Merriam came running up, and she said, "Stevie," Uncle Stevie, "Miles has run out into the forest, and we don't know where he is. We can't find him." And I was like, "Oh, my, you serious? You don't joke." And I said, No, he... I said, all right. I said, "Okay, Lily, here, you hold the sign for line, okay?" And I said, "I'll go and see if I can find him." And I vaulted the stairs. I did not break my leg as I went down, went out the tunnel and ran out. And I'm calling, "Miles, Miles, come on in, it's all right, Miles." And couldn't find him. I said, "This is fruitless. So I went back in, and I went back to my place, took my sign, and I think it was Shoshi Bass came up, and she said, "Stevie," I said, "What?" I said, "Did you see Miles?" She said, "Yes, I think I saw him." "In the building?" Yes, where?" "I saw him going down up the back stairs." "Really? Where do you think he is?" "I don't know." She said, I think he came stage left." And I said, "Oh." So I thought, where? And somebody said, I'm not sure, I think I saw somebody going up the spiral staircase up to the pin rail, which is where you lower the drops. So I said, okay. So I didn't know what else to do. Gave somebody my sign, and I went up the pin rail, and I said to Jerry, who was lowering the swing for puck and stuff, and I said, "Jerry, did you see Miles? He said, "No, I didn't see anybody." So I went all the way up to the very, very top. And when I got to the total top, it was pitch dark. You looked down the stage, everybody looked like they were ants. It's really high up there, way up where the pulleys have all the ropes. And I looked down, and I was like, couldn't see anything. And then I heard, and I looked, and I couldn't, and then I looked over there, and there was a stack of sandbags, about 50 sandbags, which they used to counterweight the scenery, and they were piled up in a big heap, and there was a door with about that much room on top, and it was pitch dark in there, and I climbed up over those and looked down, and there was Miles, curled up in a ball, as tight as in a womb, and I went, oh boy. Swung my feet over, I slid down, I picked him up in my arms, gave him a great big hug, and I said, Miles, you're amazing. That was the best acting I've ever seen in my life. You were incredible, and stop getting snot on my shirt. It's just really, get it on your own. But Miles, that was great. Do you think you could do it again? And he looked at me like, I said, no, I mean, you were incredible. You were unleashed. I've never seen an actor so out of themselves, so driven. I mean, your objective was clear. It's just you don't have any lines. So do it again, but don't say any lines, okay? You haven't been given any lines. I said, "But do you think you could go on and do it again?" He went, I said, well, you better, because you're on in 2 minutes. And he went, oh. So I helped him down, wiping all the way, and putting my shirt on his nose and cleaning him up and everything, and got him down there, pushed him on stage. And he never misspoke again. He made all of his blocking perfectly. The second night, he was totally in his element. And then he was in the green room. He was speaking up. He was looking at me and everything. We finished the show, and we were launched. And then he and his mother moved away. Never saw him again. Never saw him again. Never got to work with him again. Well, when a door closes, a window opens. And again, like I was saying at the beginning, clown, you can all live a clown life. Whatever happens, you just go, this is interesting. It's about discovery. It's about really noticing stuff, yeah? You don't just walk past these amazing trees out here and you smell, you stop and you go, whoa. And you greet the tree and the tree greets you, and you have a little bit of a conversation with that tree or whatever it is, I'll embarrass my wife. She sits with her computer at the other end of the table at breakfast. And I just look at her and I just notice how absolutely gorgeous she is. I mean, she is, and I'll say, I never expected, you were so beautiful when I first met you, but you just get more beautiful every day. And she says, oh, thank you, But seriously, when you're in clown life and you're in the interesting zone, you experience things, you watch things, you notice things, you discover things, right? And everything is interesting. This bird, little birds are opportunity. There are hundreds of them. They're landing on your shoulder all the time. And they go, psst, and you go, what? Most people, they go, psst, and you just go on doing whatever you're doing. But I've trained myself since age 35. When the little bird goes, psst, I go, yeah. Bird goes, psst. It's your 25th UVM anniversary. Go. Yeah? Why? Psst, trust me, just go. By the way, call Ed Feidner and tell him you could do a solo mime performance at Memorial Auditorium for the whole 5 different classes. There'll be about 800 people there. Really? All right. Psst, trust me. Call him. Called him. They said, hey, I can do maybe 10 minutes. He said, you're on. Perfect. I did my 10 minutes. I was on. I was excited. Did some of my, my stuff, and stuff, whatever, silly stuff. Afterwards, this guy walks up to me and he punches me in the arm, and I said, what? And he said, remember me? And I said, hey, Al Secunda. Now, Al Secunda was in Buckham Hall when I was there, right? That's when I got a bunch of guys to sing Run Come See Jerusalem in the shower stall, which is big enough for about 7 gang showers, and it echoed like an echo chamber. But Al could never hold a tune, but he played flute and sax. And I started a band called the Northern Lights, and he said, can I be in the band? I said, as long as you don't sing. And he said, okay. I said, but you'll play the sax. And then he organized rehearsals, because we never wanted to rehearse. And he booked the shows, and he got a vehicle where we could travel to colleges. Of course, often he would get a vehicle from one of his fraternity brothers, and we got one from his fraternity brother whose name was Waxy, and Waxy had just gotten it at the used car place, but they didn't put any oil in it. And we ran out of oil in Bellows Falls. And it was my sister's concert at Smith College. We never showed up. My sister has still never forgiven me. We all slept about 4 to a bed in the hotel. But I said, Al, how you doing? What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm a famous tennis teacher now. And I said, you really? He said, yeah, my book's endorsed by Stan Smith, Billie Jean King. How did you do that? He said, I just walked up at a tournament to Stan and said, I need to create a miracle. And Stan said, what kind of miracle? I need you to endorse my book. Stan Smith is 6'5", Al's 5'5". So he wangled all that. Anyway, there he was. And I said, boy, you teach? He said, yeah, here's my book. And I looked at it and I said, this is crazy. I said, you got Stan Smith to endorse this? Al had done his research. He knew that at a certain point Stan Smith had broken his right arm. And Stan Smith had won Wimbledon against Ilie Nastase, one of the greatest matches ever played. And so Al knew that, and when they met for breakfast, he said to Stan Smith, Stan Smith said to him, what's this book for? I mean, you've got all these crazy pictures. There you are in your full tennis outfit, standing in a swimming pool up to your waist with your racket on a rubber ducky. What's that about? How's that teaching tennis? And he said, well, it's all about that you don't strangle the racket, it floats. And he went, oh. And he knew he'd done his homework, and he said, hey, Stan, you ever break your arm? He knew that he had. And Stan said, yeah. And he said, well, did you quit tennis? And he knew that he hadn't. He said, no. During that much of a year, I played left-handed. And he said, right. Was that easy? Oh, no, it was terrible. And Al said to him, every other tennis player in the world except you is a left-handed tennis player. This book is for them, not for you. And he went, oh, I got it. So he endorsed it. So did Billie Jean King. It's amazing. He said, I said, we're having so much fun. Come and spend a week in Brattleboro. He did. He gave me one-hour lesson. Everybody who could beat me couldn't beat me anymore. So I brought him back from Los Angeles and I set up a workshop. And all these people came, including Prentice Smith, who ended up being the treasurer of New England Youth Theater because of that. Spiro Latches attended. He calls me up after the workshop was done, and now Al had gone back to California, and he said, I want to treat you to dinner in the old, the flood ruined the old Latches Grill, but I want to, brought him in, I said, oh, great. He's going to give me the upstairs theater where Theater 3 is. This is great. And I sat down and wine and, 3-course, 4-course meal and everything. And I said, so let's talk theater. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I thought this was about you giving me the upstairs theater as my Matchbox theater. He said, no, I'm not giving you that. This is about tennis. I said, about tennis? Yeah, he said, boy, Al Secunda, he changed my life. And he told me that he trained you because I'd gone out to California and gone through his course, and I have a card that says Ultimate Tennis. I'm a pro now, I want you to teach me. I want you to be my doubles partner. And I said, all right. After a while, he said, okay, this is great. I'll give you the theater. I'll give you the Chinese restaurant for free. I said, really? Yes, I said, but he said, come and look at it. You may not want it. Full of trash. There was broken signs and tires and glass and everything you could think of. And the Chinese people that were there, begging your pardon, had left in the middle of the night and taken everything, stripped it, except that it was just a mess. Enter GPI Construction, Art Greenbaum. He showed up 10 times with dump trucks when his people were done. And they loaded out all the trash. And the kids and the parents showed up and they loaded trash and everything like that. Everybody worked. Rob Schrull came and he went somewhere and got all this carpet and we glued it down and I got paint and James, out at Rentals Plus, he gave me the whole spray kit, everything else. Sherman Wilmans gave me the paint, no charge. The sprayer, no charge. GPI Construction, that's free. He did charge me $5,000 to put in the bathrooms and to bust out so that we had enough room on top because Jerry Stockman brought in all these platforms from UMass they didn't need. So now we had a platform, but you couldn't get from the Chinese restaurant on stage because the doorway was like that. So he knocked the whole thing out to there, put a whole new lintel in like that. And this guy, we're doing As You Like It now. And this guy comes up to me after the show and he said, boy, it's awful hot. And I said, yeah, well, there's nothing we can do about it with the lights, which Jerry had brought in all kinds of Fresnels and Lecos and everything. And Justin Morris is now becoming an absolute pro. He's just coming from after school. I'm taking him home at night in snowstorms, and he's working 3 jobs. He's working at Mort's Roadhouse. And finally I said, I'm paying you. And I started to pay him and everything. And this guy comes up and he says, it's really hot. And I said, well, what can I do? And he said, well, I happen to be a plumber from Hinsdale. I said, really? He said, yeah. I'll see if I can come back next Wednesday. I think I've got an air conditioner for you. I said, really? And sure enough, he shows up next week with a couple of guys. He said, where's the old one? Why doesn't it work? I said, well, it's about as big as a Volkswagen. It's behind this wall. Bang, out come their Sawzalls. They took the wall out, set it here, went, whoa, look at that. It's not needed. I said, just a minute. Ran up to Spiro's office. He said, yeah, get it out of here. They sawed it all up, took it out, came in, and they put in this small, really powerful one under one of the seats in the lobby. They piped it in. And then I said, I have no money to pay. Don't worry about it. Happy birthday. I said, why? He said, oh, when I was in grade school, I loved Guildensterns. I saw all your shows. I just loved your performing. And I said, really? Oh my gosh. Well, we got to the next show that we were doing, and we got to the day before opening night, and all of a sudden, the fire marshal from the state of Vermont walked in with Dave Emery from the fire chief and the chief of police, and they said, you're shut down. You can't open. The theater's closed. We're sorry, we know that you're doing good things with children, but you're closed. And I said, why? Well, they said, first off, look at the exit signs. They're all paper. They all have to be wired. They have to be electric. And if all the power goes out, they have to have emergency power to light them. I said, ooh, all right. He said, and also, look at this little fire extinguisher. You need to have 5 of these, and they have to be code 3 big, specified. I said, oh, how much are those? He said, no, they're not too expensive, about $250 each. I was like, I don't have any money. And he said, come with me. And he walked to the back, and he said, look at the panel here. It's all screw-in, what do you call those things, fuses? And the whole thing is a mess. It has to be completely rewired. I said, rewired? But we open tomorrow. He said, you can't open. I told you that. But he said, come back in here. And he walked in with me and with Dave Emery, and we walked into the Chinese kitchen, and he went like this, up and down, and the whole floor went like this. He said, if a fireman comes in here weighing 300 pounds with all of his gear, he'll go right to the basement. I said, whoa, all right. But what if I fix all these things? He said, no, there's one more thing. I said, one more thing? He said, yes, the whole theater, including the kitchen, has to be sprinklered. It has to have a sprinkler which is connected to an alarm. And I said, well, thank God, not the basement. He said, no, the basement also. But I said, it's concrete, it's all. He said, no, you have to sprinkle the basement too. I said, oh my gosh, I can't do that by tomorrow. He said, well, when do you think you could get it done? And I said, I don't know, this is March, maybe, or April as it was. I said, well, maybe by Thanksgiving. I have no money. He said, okay, you get it done by Thanksgiving. But the rest of the stuff has to be done by tomorrow, or you can't open. And even if you do all of that, those 5 things, you have to have a fireman in the lobby for each of the shows to make sure that if anything goes wrong, he can get the fire department down here before the whole place burns down. And I said, how much is that going to cost me? And he said, well, that'll be $250 a night. And I said, okay, all right. He said, well, sorry about that. I know you're doing good work, but I got to do. I think in retrospect, what he was actually doing was getting to Spiro Latches, who for 10 years they had tried to get Jim and Spiro Latches to sprinkle the Latches Hotel on the theater. And he always, and I knew this from talking to Spiro, he had always said, it's never been this way since the 30s, and it's not going to be this way now, and it's thousands of dollars. We're running a very, very tight belt operation. We're just not going to do it. I'm surmising that by shutting me down the day before we opened, But I didn't talk to Spiro. My first call was Donnie Dompierre. I said, Donnie, and I knew that Donnie had used a Chinese restaurant way back when it was a Soda Jerk fountain place. It was where he held his wedding reception. And I said, hey, Donnie, I got a problem here. And he said, what is it? I said, well, I need the new exit lights, and they got to be wired to power. I need a whole new panel. He said, oh boy, by when? I said, by tomorrow. He said, by tomorrow. I said, yeah, otherwise we can't open the show, and we're dark for a whole 2 weekends. We'll lose everything. All the publicity's out. He said, okay, I'll see what I can do. So he showed up at 6 o'clock, and his people worked all night. They finished at 5 a.m. Rewired everything. Steel tubing with the wires and the whole thing, new panel, everything done. Oh, Stevie, keep on keeping on. Don't worry about it. No charge. Called Art Greenbaum, GPI Construction. The kitchen floor, he said, oh, I guess I got a couple of guys. I'll call Joe Fortier. They showed up with 5 guys, with 2x4s and everything, and metal shims. They went and shimmed the whole floor in there and put 2x4s and braced the entire thing from underneath. Don't worry about it, no charge. They probably finished, I stayed the whole night. They finished about 3:30 in the morning, like that. I went to Code 3 after Donnie arrived, just in time before he closed, and I said, this little fire extinguisher, Dave Emery, etc. He said, okay, here's 5 of them, just take them. Pay when you can. And I was like, okay, wow, that's just great. So now I got the things there, but the sprinkler system, I called up Alan Washburn. And I said, Alan. Now, Alan Washburn ran Southern Vermont Sprinkler, and he was a dear, dear friend of mine. And one of the reasons was that Gay Fenning was his secretary. Now, back in 1977, when I was on the farm and starving on $2,500 a year, I ran into Ann Watt, and she led me to Bruce Cole, and they said, write a grant to bring arts into the mountain schools from Jamaica and Wordsboro and Wyndham and Winhall and all of that. And I did, and I got the grant. The superintendent of schools was David Morris, and his secretary was Gay Fenning. And I always, Guildensterns learned, it doesn't matter about the principal. You take care of the custodian, you take care of the secretaries, you make sure that they have I found out what kind of chocolate she liked. We would stay sometimes a little late. I'd bring in a bottle of wine. Gay Fenning and I, we were famous friends. Now she is the secretary for Alan Washburn. That must have been part of it. Because Alan came in and he looked and he said, boy, this, including the basement. I said, how much? He said, $13,000. He said, I can't get to it till probably Christmas. I said, all right, how about Thanksgiving? He said, I'll try. Well, the guy from the fire department showed up, and he stood there for the whole first night. We paid him $250. He came up to me and he said, that was the most wonderful show I've ever seen. I'm going to bring my kids and my wife tomorrow. I should be paying you. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of sinning. I mean, you're paying me $250, and I'm enjoying the show. This is not fair. And I said, that's the law. And he said, I guess it's the law. So he brought his family, and then a couple of his kids started studying with me, and all this stuff had happening. Right. And we closed, and we packed up everything, and I'm there cleaning up on the next Tuesday, and the door gets knocked upon. I locked it at the street door in the old Chinese restaurant, and there's a truck parked out front, part of the wheels are on the curb, and there's these 4 guys, and they're unloading 10-foot steel pipes out of the back of the truck. And I'm like, and they say, excuse me. And I said, they're just walking right by me, and they're dumping the stuff on the floor, on the parquet floor, you know. And I said, it's not a parquet floor, is it? Help me, Petey. It's the floor. It's a terrazzo floor. Terrazzo. Thank you very much. I knew you knew. They're dumping the steel pipe on the terrazzo floor. Makes a hell of a racket, right, Gene? Yeah. Okay, so I stopped them and I said, what is this? They said, Alan Washburn sent us. I said, Alan, what? But I said, he said Thanksgiving, and I have no money. They said, will you take that up with Alan? He said we were off a job and we didn't have another job for a couple of days, so he sent us here to put in your sprinkler system. I said, now? They said, yep, I said, but, and they said, no, he told us to get it done by tomorrow. So they rolled into it, and I'm like watching them do it, and they completely did the whole thing, perfect. And I'm like, wow. And then Alan comes in, and I said, Alan, I told you I'd have to fundraise for this. I have no $13,000. I don't have $6,000. He said, I'll pay you when it can. He handed me the bill. I looked at it, and it said $3,000. I said, Alan, what happened to the other 10? He said, happy birthday. Keep on keeping on. And then the next thing I knew, Justin Morris, who was staying downtown with his aunt, calls me up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Why are you bothering me? I said, Dad. He didn't say Dad. He said, Uncle Stevie, I'm downtown. Yeah? The Wilder building's on fire. It's on fire. I said, what? Yes, there's trucks from everywhere. There's police cars, there's ribbons, there's water all over the street. Woo, woo. I could hear the sirens in the back. I said, where are you? He said, I'm in the building. I said, what? You're in the building? He said, yeah, I'm in the lobby on the payphone. I said, God. I said, is there any smoke? He said, yeah, there's a bit of smoke, but they're gunning with these big hook and ladders. They're just nailed. The water's coming down the stairs that goes between, and it's coming right through my feet and through the lobby. It's going all across the terrazzo floor. And I said, oh my God, but there's not much smoke yet. And he said, no, not well. There's a bit. I said, look, get out of there. Get out of there. No, I said, don't get out of there yet. Run back and hang a curtain between the theater and the dressing room so that our costumes don't get ruined because we were doing The Music Man. And then get the hell out of there. He did. He hung a curtain. It's saved. And then I went out to Wayne Emery the next day, and it was Saturday morning. The fire was on Friday. And I said, Wayne, we've got a whole rehearsal. It's one of our dress rehearsals before we open on Thursday. He said, I'm sorry. I said, but it's tomorrow. It's Sunday. Nobody's going to be. He said, that's right. You're not going to be here. It's Sunday. Besides, everything is roped off. There's no access anywhere. Trucks are here. I said, look, no, you don't understand. I will telephone every one of the parents. I'll telephone Ibby and Hop if they had been there at that time. You should have been there. You should have been there. And I will tell them all that I'll meet them at the door of the Latches Grill. And I will take them down the back stairs, through the brewery, and through the catacombs, and up the back staircase into the Chinese restaurant dressing room. You'll never know we're there. He said, no. He said, can you do that? I said, sure, I can do that, of course. He said, all right, but if I see any children, that's exactly what we did. They all came through the catacombs. They went right through the brewery. They got high on the beer. It was a great rehearsal. and then at a certain point, we took a break. And I went out and looked through the glass window, which is now, I think, where VPR does its thing, but our little lobby, and I looked out at the street. And over there was a photographer from the Reformer. And I went, a camera. And I unlocked the door, and I walked over to Wayne Emery, and I said, Dave Emery, and I said, Dave. He said, yes. It's a little bird. Psst. What? Opportunity. Psst. What? Camera. Reformer. He said, what? I said, just give me 130 seconds. I will get the entire cast in full costume out in front of, under the marquee New England Youth Theater. He'll come. I'll get him to take a picture. We'll get front page, full color. He said, Stevie, I don't know. I don't know. I said, He said, you can't do that in a minute and 30 seconds. I said, of course I can. He said, I got to see this. Okay, go and see if he'll... Immediately the guy said, are you kidding? I'm all there. I said, get right there on your knees, right there. We will be here. When I come out and go like that, you get ready, and within 130 seconds, they'll come out, they'll be in place, ta-da, and they'll disappear, boom, door locked. You'll never know they were there. I went back and I said, cast, everybody come in. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get front page, okay? Everybody get into your places. That's right, Music Man right here. Okay, everybody like that. Pick a little ladies. Okay, the whole thing. And I said, now come on out. You got 130 seconds. You can do it probably 110. When I yell go, you're going to come through that door. Don't push anybody. You guys are first, you're second, you're third, and you're last. And then you fan out, go into your pose. And then the same way, you guys in the back, you go through them first like that, like a wave. Okay, you ready? Go out. Hey, Dave. Good. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Boom. Bang. Done. Front page. The whole front page in color. NUIT does the Music Man. We sold the entire 2 weekends out in 2 days. And that's my story for the first half, and I'm sticking to it. Go get some refreshments.